The influence of previous existence will play out in ways we cannot possibly know. As a parent, one accepts this. But a work of fiction is a perverse child. Once created, it makes its own way without apology, brooking no influence, making friends and enemies on its own. Perhaps it is not so different from a flesh and blood child after all. The Genji tale was like an elder brother to me from the time I was born. It was always taking up my mother's time, demanding her attention like any selfish boy. It never went away or lessened its demand. As jealous as I was when I was young, eventually, I too fell under Genji's spell. We did not meet often during the years my mother lived as a nun. My own career at court was developing moderately well, and I was then under the protection of Counselor Kanetaka, a nephew of Regent Michinaga. It was his child, Yu, I carried at the time of Murasaki's death. I thought I should probably never marry. How was I to know the fated connections and promotions that were to come my way? I was not worried about my future, because my mother was not. She would not have abandoned me at 16 unless she felt my prospects were secure. The faint scent of cherry blossoms will always remind me of my mother's departing this world. As we left the sand-strewn funerary plain at dawn, we passed stands of blooming cherries in the morning fog. Then, as the sun warmed the earth and the fog melted away, a soft smell filled the air. No one thinks of sakura for its scent. It hasn't the strong honey odor of plum. But out in the countryside, in such masses, sakura seemed to have a subtle fragrance. I was carrying the urn with Murasaki's ashes to take back to our family temple. My grandfather, Tametoki, should have been in charge, but, mortified at 74 to have outlived his children, he shrank from taking an official part in the ceremony. Shaking his gray head like one of the querulous macaw monkeys we saw on the mountain roads, my grandfather lamented the fortune of his continued good health as much as his daughter's death. The following month I journeyed for the last time to my mother's retreat near Kiyomizu Temple to gather her things. I knew there would not be very much because she had already given away her musical instruments, her books, and of course, long since, all of the fine silk clothing she had worn at court. There were some good padded winter robes, which I donated to the temple, as well as the sutras she had been copying in her graceful calligraphy. I managed to find the only things I wanted: her dark purple inkstone, a set of writing brushes, and a Chinese celadon brush rest in the form of 5 mountains. As I knelt at her low writing table, I noticed another bundle of papers rolled tightly and wrapped in a scrap of chartreuse silk. Thinking these to be old letters she had kept for the paper on which to copy more sutras, I decided to take them with me for my own writing practice. Paper is not cheap, and I thought I might as well put it to the use my mother intended. The priest was disappointed. These people are always on the lookout for extra paper. What with one thing and another, and the weather turning hot after I returned to court, and the fact that my nausea did not pass as the older woman said it would, I didn't happen to look at my mother's papers until the 12th month, after you were born. You must keep in mind what a fuss your grandmother's writing used to cause. It seemed that Murasaki was discussed after her death as much as when she had lived at court. Because people were still eagerly reading the story of Prince Genji, I would often be asked to arbitrate between 2 readers who had obtained different versions, usually because the court ladies had made mistakes in copying. I don't know how it happened, but entire chapters would get shuffled and occasionally be missing altogether from some texts. I tried to keep a full set of my own in proper order, letting people refer